Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Marianne Grace. I'm the Head of Projects at the Edinburgh Chamber of Commerce. Our mission for Circular Edinburgh is to help the city become more circular, to help companies embed circular economy thinking, and to support the development of circular economy businesses. But what is circular economy? Well, we're used to the linear economy where we take raw materials, we produce products, we use them, and then we throw them away. In the last 10 years, we've moved over to the reuse economy where we recycle our plastic, our glass, our packaging, etc. Circular economy is about keeping raw materials for use as long as possible. So what is circular economy? It's about extracting value at every stage of the supply chain. It's about maintaining and prolonging products. It's about reusing and redistributing and leasing. It's about refurbishing and remanufacturing products. And at the end, it's about recycling. So what are the benefits of circular economy to your business? It can help capture more value from your materials and resources. It can help develop new markets and gain new customers. It can help build loyalty with your customer base. It can help satisfy changing customer needs and expectations. It can help increase the security and price stability of your supply chain. It can help attract, retain, and engage your employees. It can help your business build your brand reputation as an innovative organization. And it can help exceed government regulations for your business to stay ahead of new requirements. So how to start change toward a circular economy? First of all, we suggest assessing your current waste streams, assessing the use of your waste streams, looking at new business models, looking at collaboration with other businesses and stakeholders, look at economies of scale, and look at accessing existing supply chains. So let me just stop sharing screen. So this morning I've also got a panel of circular economy businesses. Our first speaker is Elaine Brown, Managing Director from the Edinburgh Remakery. The Edinburgh Remakery won the Circular Economy Excellence Award this year. And in the last month alone, they've diverted IT waste from landfill for the weight of 41 baby elephants. So that's really, really impressive. And even during COVID, they've managed to help support the city with a circular economy. So I'm now going to pass you over to Elaine. Over to you, Elaine.
And now the horrible technical bit, which I hope doesn't fail me. So bear with me one second till I get this slideshow up and then I can relax. Is that it?
Yeah, you can see fine.
Fantastic. Phew. The speaking bit's the easy bit. It's the technology that's the nightmare. So hello, everybody. As Marianne said, I'm Elaine from the Edinburgh Remakery. The Edinburgh Remakery is a social enterprise and charity based in Edinburgh on Leith Walk, and our whole mission is around repair and reuse and the circular economy. And thank you, Marianne, for that wonderful sort of slideshow, because that is as though you're talking about the Edinburgh Remakery, and totally agree. There's opportunities around waste streams, opportunities around collaboration, and opportunities for markets to grow. So really, I'm delighted to come along today to share our experience of the opportunities that are around the IT and remanufacturing circular economy model. And I want to share our experience of doing that and hopefully inspire you to not be fearful of the climate emergency, but actually see it as huge opportunities. Here we are. We all know that there is a climate emergency. We are probably all aware that we are at the race to net zero now. We've got limited amount of time now to make the impact that's needed for the planet. And indeed, the city of Edinburgh itself has hugely ambitious targets to reach net zero by 2030. So that could strike fear, that could strike freezing with fear, but I really see it for all of us as a great opportunity. It's an opportunity that's great for business. And in being great for business, it will be brilliant for the planet. So take away the fear and start seeing how can you get involved in this wonderful opportunity for your business? And I'm going to talk around e-waste. So as Mayan said, identify your waste streams. So my guess is that you're all businesses, whether you be small, large, medium, huge, you all have e-waste potential. You all are gathering IT equipment, you're buying it, you don't know what to do with it at end of life. So I'm guessing that a lot of it is stored in cupboards like this, just packed away, forgetting about it for another day. But e-waste is one of the largest waste streams now, and it has huge potential to harm the planet because the components within it are harmful if they seep into soil, if they seep into water streams, etc. So we all have to face this and tackle the e-waste issue. So I want to talk about what we've done at the Edinburgh Remakery. So we have pivoted our business model. We were always about refurbishing IT, but during COVID, all our income streams around IT sales, etc., and second-hand IT sort of froze because COVID hit. So we set about through funding to take our IT, refurbish it, and gift it to those that were in need. So the end of life IT that you might have and see it as end of life is actually the beginning of a new life if you use it correctly. So that beginning of the new life can help people in our society. So when we got donated IT equipment that was end of life, we refurbished it. So we took out the parts that didn't work, repaired them, refurbished them, and then through funding, we were able to gift to people in our community because during COVID, what really came apparent was the digital isolation. There's always been digital isolation because of digital poverty, but really during COVID, the need to stay connected was absolutely crucial. We all know that. We all lived on Zoom. We were family, friends and business. But imagine if you didn't have that ability, if you didn't have a piece of IT equipment, you would be totally isolated. And many of our people in community that were already facing huge disadvantage couldn't access the help and support that was vital to them, either housing support, mental health support, getting their kids schooling. So we refurbished what was e-waste, what was end of life, and we donated it. So the end of life became a new life, a new use for people in our community. And we engaged with over 40 charities to reach out to their beneficiaries. But we started to hit a problem in the sense of we were running out of IT because people were donating and we were sending it out as quickly as possible. And we knew that there was businesses out there that had lots of IT. So we started reaching out to those businesses like yourself and saying, if you've got end of life IT and maybe the environment wasn't your driver, maybe, for you, environmental wasn't the top priority, but maybe cost was, maybe legislation, environmental legislation, or indeed social value was one of your top corporate responsibilities, then we could help you to help people in the community stay connected. So these are just some of the pictures here of old end-of-life IT that was refurbished, packaged up so it looked lovely, it looked, it wasn't second hand, as second best, and then that was distributed out to people in our community. And again, as businesses, environmental might not be your key driver, but we know that a lot of businesses engaged with us because social value was, they wanted to have an impact within the community and didn't know quite how to do that. So by looking at their e-waste and donating it to us or any other organisation, we were able to provide social value. And these are just some of the pictures of the beneficiaries that received refurbished IT from us. And we were flooded with the impact of that. So the opportunities, as I've said, this is a scary thing, e-waste, but my goodness, when it's used for good, the impact that can have, that you as businesses can have with your old IT is immense. So these are just some of the statements from some of the organisations, people saying we couldn't have afforded this before, we've been able to stay connected for our kids with schooling, etc. Also, the opportunities for you as businesses around e-waste is immense, because it can create jobs. If you start tackling your e-waste or remanufacturing in the correct way, there are real opportunities for green jobs as part of the green recovery for our city and indeed for our planet. Because it will create jobs that don't currently exist as we start to think, how can we carefully remanufacture items? We might have to change our systems of work, our models of work. We might have to upskill our current staff to do that. We might have to actually create jobs that fill that gap. And indeed, the Edinburgh Remakery has created some green jobs. So even in the height of COVID, a social enterprise was able to create 2 green jobs. Now that is immense, you know, at times where people were perhaps going into furlough and perhaps losing jobs. Actually, if you target the correct type of activity, you can actually create jobs. So we created an IT trainer job to train people in the skills for IT hardware repair. And we created an e-waste operative post, both around IT refurbishment. So that was amazing for us to be able to do that. And I'm sure you as businesses, if you start thinking about your business models, can actually do that as well. Also, the opportunities around circular economy model, create apprenticeships, create new training opportunities for young people coming through the system. And again, during COVID, the Edinburgh Remakery was able to create 2 apprenticeships in that. One for a school leaver through an apprenticeship dealing with our IT administration. And again, one for our IT trainer, an e-waste post where it was getting an apprenticeship, and that was through Nobody Left Behind. So we were targeting somebody who would be finding barriers to entering employment, and we created an apprenticeship around that. So we feel that we're creating the skills that are going to be required for the skills gap that the circular economy model creates. And again, I would encourage you to businesses to start thinking, what apprenticeships can you perhaps offer around that circular economy model? And there's lots of opportunity around there. We could have taken our pick. So again, we'd be happy to share that experience if you wanted more help or advice on that. But apprenticeships in the time of COVID and 2 jobs is not bad, and it shows that the circular economy has opportunity. The other opportunity that it presented was, I think Mayan presented that in her talk, was that it starts to open up markets. And that certainly happened for the Edinburgh Remakery. As a social enterprise, we pivoted our business model to create a new market. So we created a robust free IT disposal service for business, because we were becoming victims of our own success in the sense of the amount of gifting that we were doing, the amount of IT refurbishment we were doing. We needed more supply, but we knew that businesses out there had lots of IT equipment. We knew that together we could collaborate and do good. So we created a business model, which was our free IT disposal service for business. So we would collect the IT for free. We would provide free waste transfer notices, which are absolutely crucial for your environmental legislation. We would provide free data wipe, which is crucial for your cybersecurity, which I'm sure Amanda from Illuminate Technology will testify to. But also the items that we collected from businesses were then used for good, for helping people in our community. So it was a win-win situation, and that business model is now sustaining the Edinburgh Remakery. It's becoming an income generator as well through our sales of low-income families as well. And we started at the beginning of our journey before COVID with one business regularly donating to us. Now we've got over 70 businesses within Edinburgh and wider, and we hope to upscale that, and we're actually looking for new premises because we're doing so well. Collaboration is something that Mayan talked about. As we move towards a circular economy model and the opportunities that creates, collaboration is absolutely crucial. We can't do this in silos. We can't do this by ourselves. We've got to reach out and help one another. And where you have gaps and somebody else can add value, reach out. And that's where we found Circular Edinburgh and the Chamber in particular to be hugely important to us in making those connections. So I would absolutely urge you, you're here today, so you've obviously got an interest in the circular economy model. You've obviously know about Circular Edinburgh, so please make use of them. I think Mayan's fed up of me constantly reaching out, but they are hugely important as the collaboration is crucial, and we've collaborated, as I say, with over 70 businesses now and with other social enterprises and charities. We're not doing it by ourselves. We are making sure that we're working together, because the race to net zero, we've got to move at pace now. We can't dilly-dally. And just on that note of collaboration, it was just prior to COVID, so February time, that I'd been at an Edinburgh Chamber event. And the power of the Chamber membership is immense. And I'd been talking, and Amanda from Illuminate Technology, who's also a Chamber member, had heard me talking. We arranged to meet for coffee back in the day when you could actually meet in person for coffee. And through our chat, Amanda had identified a problem that her clients were experiencing around e-waste. And we obviously had the opportunity to solve that problem. So together, we decided to collaborate, and Amanda was an early adopter of our free IT disposal service for business. And if it hadn't been for people like Amanda and the Chamber and us talking, I don't know where we would be today, but I definitely don't think that we would have been able to have the impact and the opportunities that are now arising from the circular economy. And it's with that I would like to pass over to Amanda so that she can explain what it's meant to her to embrace looking at e-waste and how we can ethically dispose of that. Thank you.
Thanks, Elaine. Yes, a coffee before COVID. That was, I think it was probably one of my last social events out, actually. But anyway, so as an IT service provider, we realised that IT products, once they reach end of life, often end up in landfill or left to rot in large cupboards, as we've said previously, as Elaine said previously. And who doesn't like a good cupboard clean out? We'd struggled for years to find a safe and secure alternative for our customers, because most companies were charging a fortune to uplift this kind of waste. And it's a significant cost, especially to SMEs and charities, a lot of whom we work with. So when I came across Elaine and the work that Remakery was doing, it seemed too good to be true, because not only did it tick all the boxes for our clients, but for us as a business to try and keep to the sort of ethos of reusing and repurposing equipment, it was perfect. We had a long discussion about repair and reuse and how a partnership would work for both of us. So since then, we've uplifted equipment from over half of our client sites, enabling them to have a really good tidy up. And Elaine and her team provide them all with a certificate of destruction for the hard drives, so they can be safe in the knowledge not only is their data safely destroyed, which is vitally important in these days of cybercrime, but also that their old junk is being repurposed to do good, or if too old, that it's being properly recycled. And all our clients love that warm and fuzzy feeling they get from doing that. So the cradle to grave service that we now provide is really appreciated by our clients, potential clients, and also by our staff. It fits with our environment in our environmental credentials as part of the circular economy. Also being a green business and hopefully getting us closer to our aim of becoming a B Corp. The team are really, really friendly and accommodating, and some of the refurbished equipment is actually just right for some of our charity clients whose budgets are really tight. So I'm really looking forward to continuing working with Remakery for as long as we can and providing what is an excellent service to our clients.
Thanks, Amanda. Thanks, Elaine. I think you're so visionary, Elaine, in what you do, and to carry on during COVID, we're all in lockdown, and actually to increase from 1 or 2 clients to 70 is impressive. I think during COVID also, you need IT equipment much more. And you know, it's like everybody at the beginning was scrabbling around to make sure all their teams had laptops. But I think it just shows that, you know, we've all got a couple of laptops. I've got a couple to give you, Elaine. We've all got a couple of laptops that we can't use anymore, but it's about the security. And because it gets wiped, you know, just get in touch with Elaine. and just make sure that it just doesn't go to landfill. It's an easy win-win. There's no cost, and then it goes to somebody who really needs it and doesn't have access to IT equipment. So what we will do, and there was a couple of questions, we will share the presentations, all the presentations afterwards, and also the contact details, if that's okay with all the speakers, just if you want to carry on, do some introductions and discussions. Right, I think I will move on to our next speaker. Our next speaker is Claire Rampin, co-director from Wreath, who are an innovative digital passport organisation, and really forward-thinking with that sort of IT innovation, which I think is really, really important for the future of circular economy. So I'm going to pass it over to you, Claire.
Great. Hi, really nice to be here. I have to say I was off camera because I have a new puppy, so it wasn't because I didn't want to be social. Can everyone see my screen okay?
Yeah, see it fine. Thanks, Claire.
So yeah, I was really excited to be invited here today to talk a bit about the role of data in scaling the circular economy, and the work that's being done at a local level is absolutely fantastic, and we're having some really interesting conversations with the kind of, you know, the large corporates that unfortunately are very much, I guess, like perpetuating the linear economy at the moment, whether it be with single-use packaging or single-use electronics. And so we talked to them about how they can scale up their circular economy initiatives by capturing and then using that data. So I don't need to tell you all, the linear system is definitely broken. I walk past a bin every day, which just seems to be full as soon as it's empty. And I think the time has really come to do something about this. And I'm really, really pleased to feel like there's a lot of momentum that we're moving towards this circular era, particularly post-COVID, when people are really, I guess, have received a lot more packages at home and are realizing just the extent of their waste footprint. Also excitingly and really positively, there's a lot of commitments happening across businesses, by governments across the world, all in this race towards net zero, which I think sometimes I get a little cynical about, but when I see the amount of progress that's being made by corporates, even just in the last 6 months, my hope and optimism is restored. I think I'm an optimistic warrior, so it keeps me driving forward. But yeah, it's always positive to see highlights and titles like this, where we see people like Etsy bought the fashion resale app Depop very recently, which has just flooded the market with interest in reusable fashion, and people realizing, oh, look, actually I don't need to own items forever, particularly if they don't get worn that often. It's also had a knock-on effect where brands are more interested in the durability of their products, because if your product doesn't resale well, then actually more and more customers will put off buying it. Recently, also Starbucks has announced that all of their European, Middle East and Africa stores are going to have reusable cup system in them, which, given that that's over 3,000 stores, really takes reusable cups to the next level. I installed one of the first Keep Cup systems in my university 10 years ago, and unfortunately we're still having the conversation about coffee cups, but this feels like a step change in terms of where we're going. And lastly, the buyback that's starting to happen from these big brands, people recognizing that people really want what they're looking for when they buy something is actually just for it to serve that purpose in their life, not necessarily that they want to own it for the rest of their life, and moving towards these subscription services or return and repurchase. But there are some challenges in terms of shifting from a linear economy to a circular one. And I alluded to that earlier, that the bigger the business, the bigger these challenges are, because the more entrenched they are in the linear economy. So that was something that my co-founder and I really wanted to dive into in more depth when we started Wreath. We went and interviewed over 100 companies, ranging from really small SMEs through to big, big corporates. And we asked them what was stopping them embracing circular economy. The answers that we got back were really quite wide-ranging, but they fell into these 5 buckets. The first being that safety and legislation compliance, which has already been talked about by Elaine, is that it's very much built for a linear economy. It's built to keep customers safe, understandably, but it's built with single use in mind. And so that's actually quite challenging when you're talking about reusing a piece of packaging, for example, that's had a batch code stamped onto it, because how do you get rid of that batch code? All of the infrastructure has been built to print that on once and assume it's never going to come back. The second thing that is becoming quite challenging is certainly around packaging. And a lot of products, including electronics, you have to pay a tax based on the weight of the amount that you put into the market. So if you're a company that produces chocolate bars, you'll pay the plastic tax, or you'll pay your packaging tax based on the weight of plastic packaging that you're putting out into the environment. If you then want to invest in more durable, reusable packaging, that cost will actually go up. So it's actually a disincentive for you to invest in that kind of thing. And this luckily has been picked up by the bodies that come up with the policy for this stuff. And we're seeing great moves towards reuse targets, as well as ways that companies can track their reuse and therefore even potentially offset the packaging taxes that they need to pay for single use right now. So luckily, incentives are starting to align for reuse, but at the moment, it is really challenging. The third thing that came up was just really basic operational challenges. So, you build your IT system for a one-way. You build it for single use, so you expect it to come in, your packaging, for example, you fill it, you ship it out, never see it again. When you actually have that coming back, and it's coming back in drips and drabs, it's not very predictable. Your system isn't necessarily set up to take it back in and account for that, then it can get really challenging. And that takes me on to lack of predictability. Our linear economy has been just optimized within an inch of its life. And it's all based around the predictability of supply chains. But one of the things that was very interesting with COVID, and I really believe will be an impetus for the circular economy, was the fact that supply chains were disrupted, and you couldn't just buy X numbers of uniform pieces of packaging or whatever item you wanted to purchase single use anymore. And so solving that predictability piece became a really important focus. And the last one is that reuse is new. And so businesses, again, they've been optimizing for decades. They've made their packaging lighter, they've made it cheaper, they've made it thinner, and they know exactly how to produce the perfect single-use piece of packaging, but they don't have any insights into what good looks like for reusable, because they don't know how many times it's likely to be reused. They don't know the best material to use, all these kinds of pieces of data that businesses need in order to make a business case or to make a decision and move forward. So what we found was a lot of businesses were really quite paralyzed, actually, and really struggling to make those decisions. So we designed a piece of software that enables you to give a unique ID to your piece of packaging or your item that you're reusing. And we link it to a digital passport in the cloud that essentially every time it gets reused, you're able to give it another stamp in its passport. And that's what helps us power these more data-driven, scalable reuse systems. And we're very much pursuing this idea that the world will be better if reuse is more common than single use. So to return to that idea of how it works, basically you can use a tracker, a machine readable tracker, and by that I mean anything from a QR code through to, if it's absolutely necessary, something a bit smarter like an RFID. These are passive trackers though, they're not telling the system anything, they just are read by a scanner when they go through the different points in their reuse cycle. And then you as a business are able to use that data to optimize that reuse cycle, or to send it to other systems. Maybe you want to update your inventory management system, or you want to let your customers know that they've reused something X number of times and how much that's saved in terms of carbon or water or general environmental impact. So we believe that the power of this data that is being collected could be really powerful to engage customers more, and also to share it with other auditing businesses. So we started in the packaging world, and then we, which is really focused on the reusable item and what goes inside it. So trying to capture that data. And then we, with COVID, got an opportunity to look at designing a system for reusable PPE with the NHS. And that was born out of necessity because there was no PPE. Then we ended up working with someone who wanted to use our system to power their remanufacturing of electronics at a large scale across big like warehouse and commercial units. And then we've been taken into the world of furniture and clothes and takeaway containers. So it's really interesting to see how the same theory in the circular economy can apply across all these different sectors. And one of the things that we did was, at the very early days, was we realized the importance of a standard. So I've got a picture here of some shipping crates, which I don't know how much, I didn't know this until I started learning more about standards, but shipping crates didn't used to be standardized in terms of their size. And then when they did, they found that the efficiencies they could have in terms of shipping immensely increased, because you knew exactly what was going to come and how many you could fit on the boat. You could then design the boat around that, etc., etc. And the same applies to digital standards. So right now, if you use Google Maps and you plug in, you want to go from A to B, you'll get a list of all the different transport methods you can use to get there. And the way that Google does that is because all the transport operators have committed to uploading their data in the same format. So it's everyone's using AM and PM time, or they're using 24-hour time. You don't have this kind of apples and oranges situation. So we saw a huge opportunity there for standardizing reuse data, because there's so many people that are interested in using this, through from the environmental protection agencies who are auditing the amount of packaging that's going onto the market and the amount of electronics, etc., and waste in general, through to the customers, or like customer facing apps that want to capture and tell people what their carbon impact has been. So the thought I want to leave you on is what we found is, I think, and it was alluded to already in the previous two speakers, I think previously people thought that circular economy was exclusively for people who wanted to improve their environmental footprint. What we've seen is actually reuse offers so many opportunities to grow for businesses into very new, exciting ways of delivering value to their end customers. And personally, I believe it's very much the future. So thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Claire. That was really, really interesting. I think the fact that you're standardizing what you do, and then that hopefully the bigger brands can start using your services, and then smaller organizations can then kind of follow suit. Because I was saying this at the beginning before we started, that actually a lot of SMEs are really innovative and a part of the circular economy. But it's the bigger brands that need to, rather than just greenwashing, they do need to actually take it on board. We're actually quite ahead of time, which is fantastic. So this is now the chance for us to have a really good discussion. What we found in a circular economy event, so we have some speakers and then we open up to you guys to ask some questions. So does anybody want to ask questions? Put your hand up or in the chat box to myself and the panel. Any questions? So that was the first couple of ones that maybe I'll ask a question to the panel if we can, until our delegates think one. With COP26 coming up, how do you think, I suppose, Edinburgh's got a chance to leverage regarding net zero and that reuse kind of opportunity? Because I think for today really is about that kind of reuse element of circular economy. So how do you think we've got a chance for the city to leverage the COP26 and what's going to happen in Glasgow for the benefit of circular economy in the city and the reuse? Maybe over to you, Elaine, first for that question, and then over to you, Claire and Amanda.
Yeah, I think it's about opportunity, and definitely COP26 is. And there'll be so many organisations across the city, both private, public and third sector, who are doing amazing things. So I think it's an opportunity to highlight that. So I would like to see lots of pop-up things across the city. So don't necessarily have to all troop to Glasgow, but really to highlight what we're doing as a city. So I know that the Chamber is looking at that. I'm really keen to get on board with anything that's happening. I know that in the third sector, we're starting to look at that, because we want the third sector to have a real strong voice at COP26, because we feel that we are leading the charge on that, because there's so much that's going on in the third sector that is making huge step changes in the circular economy. So personally, I would love to see an event tailored around social enterprise and third sector and what we're doing, a little sort of event or something. But equally, it would be great if the Chamber could get us all members to really show the power of what's happening in Chamber membership around COP26. So lots of opportunity both to learn from each other, and make those connections that I talked about before. If we didn't know who was doing what, then hopefully COP26 will sort of galvanise us. So yeah, I'd encourage you all to get involved, but we're going to have to start planning now, really.
Yeah. Thanks for that. I will at the end just highlight the kind of what's the Chamber's plan doing for activity, but to kind of let the questions are starting to come in. So Claire, over to you just for my question, and then I'll start going to this group chat. But maybe
I think like now is a great opportunity to demonstrate. I think it will be very disappointing if people come to what's meant to be a showcase of what's next for the world, and everything's very much stuck in the 1990s and 2000s. So yeah, I would love to see some really exciting and ambitious projects that really show how we can operate the circular economy efficiently and at scale.
And what about you, Amanda, as someone who's kind of started to embed circular economy and B Corp, what are your kind of thoughts?
Yeah, we'd love to be involved in it. I think the IT industry has a really bad press for waste. I mean, we're terrible, the amount of stuff that gets thrown out, and phones that are obsolete within a very short space of time. If we can be doing anything to reduce that, then I think we should be. So getting involved in that is a really good idea.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's also the big manufacturers now to start producing it for reuse. For so long it was about, especially with technology, it's a difficult one because the technology goes out, everything's so new that you have to, try and to get every 2 or 3 years. But actually, if the manufacturers look to that kind of reuse and repair models, then all the SMEs that are innovative will follow suit.
Absolutely. I mean, we're kind of going back to what our parents and our grandparents did, and that's, that's how it should be. We should be going back to that way of life.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm just going to start. There's quite a lot of questions are coming in the chat. So the first one's to Elaine. What's the challenges when it comes to repairing small appliances at the Remakery? I think it's from Chun-Li Sang. She does wee kettle. So that's about, she does looking at a modular kind of kettle, I think, Chun-Li. I mean, if you want to come in, you can, but maybe that's over to you, Elaine, specifically.
Yes, so we focus that we don't do white goods or anything like that. So we are solely IT equipment. The biggest challenge we have at the moment is keeping up with the demand. You'll have seen from some of the pictures on my slides. So we're becoming victims of our own success, which is good. I'm not complaining, but it's just keeping up with that flow now, the deluge of IT waste, which is great, and that will help us grow. And it's also training people, getting them up to speed quick enough. So that's why we're bringing in the apprenticeships. So our biggest challenges at the moment is space. So we're looking for premises. We're looking to start recruiting more people. So again, recruitment challenges, just getting the word out there that we're recruiting. But that's all good, and I can deal with those challenges any day of the week, because I'd rather have that than the opposite.
Thanks, Elaine. We'll help with recruitment. Don't worry. With the green jobs, we'll definitely help. Even Lauren, some of our friends from when she graduated, I wouldn't worry about that. Getting green jobs is very popular. So I'm just going to. There's quite a few coming through. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask the question on behalf of the person. But if they want to then come in and add more, then please do so. Okay. So from Sylvia Patterson, it seems a lot of products these days are made for a shorter lifespan, as we were discussing. How can we change it? How can we make sure that we are buying more durable equipment that will not need to be replaced every couple of years? So I'll maybe go to Claire first, and then maybe to Elaine and Amanda. So maybe Claire, for you first for that one.
So I have quite a few thoughts on that, because the good news is that legislation is coming in to change that. And, I'd like to think people would do it out the good of their hearts, but realistically they won't. So I think it is necessary to have a stick in this situation. So what's coming up is there's been 6 new waste directives from the EU. The UK, although we're not in EU anymore, seems to be following suit in terms of a lot of the direction it's gone. So that's like e-waste. There's the right to repair rule in France, which has come in. There's a requirement, which working through this at the moment, with electronics, that you have to basically make it more modular and able to be swapped out, and people can, and provide the details for that, so people can remanufacture. That's not the original supplier, which is critical. Anyone who's ever tried to change an iPhone battery will know just how hard that is. The other thing that's really important is things like packaging tax. So the plastic tax is coming in from 2022, which is going to make it much more expensive to use virgin plastic in your packaging. Then there's going to be this extended producer responsibility, where basically the polluter pays. So if you're putting non-recyclable heavy plastics onto the packaging environment, you're going to have to pay for that, and it's going to become financially non-viable. So there's a lot of legislation coming up that will change this, and I think we can't rely on individuals to change their behaviors. It needs to be a system change.
Yeah, I agree. I think it needs to be the carrot and the stick. I mean, I think you can't just expect to just be consumers, because still people still want to buy that new. And I know for the last few years we've been trying to, IT equipment. It's as you said, you're trying to change that battery. One thing goes to change your screen is the same cost as a new phone. There needs to be legislation that you can repair and use. I mean, what I'm just going to pass on to Elaine. What Remakery does is amazing, but you need to be able to say, right, okay, you cannot just put it to landfill, put it in the bin. There needs to be, and that's my view, but that's just personal. Over to you, Elaine, because I said obviously IT waste is your main. So over to you, your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think Claire's right. It is the carrot and the stick. So legislation is going to drive us there. But the Remakery is all about behaviour change as well. These legislations, things like right to repair, that's great. But if you don't know how to repair that, that's the problem. And so it's teaching those repair skills. And it's similar to what Amanda was saying, back in the day, our granny and granddads had the sort of make, do and mend mentality, and they had the skills that they've been embedded and passed down, the sort of technical skills, and we've kind of lost the ability to repair things and when we don't teach it in school and things. So certainly it's about legislation driving us, but then we need the skills and the confidence to be able to know how to tackle that. So if you get a piece of equipment that says, yes, we can, you've got the tool now that you can go in and you can change that battery or you can change that screen, still terrifying if you don't know how to do it. So again, it's about teaching, going back to teaching people the basic skills of repair and reuse.
Yeah, I totally agree, Elaine. It's, I've had that, and it's like, just come down and you've got the expertise in a Remakery that know exactly what to do. Don't try and do it yourself and look at a YouTube video, because more likely you're going to break it and have to buy a new one.
We'll teach you how to do it. So we'll show you. We'll teach you how to do it.
I was just about to come down and then COVID hit, so I'm just waiting with that phone. But as I said, it's more about, I think it's also about education. That's what Circular Edinburgh is big for, is about, and people understand what circular economy is and actually embed it in your business. Everybody here is course for it, but not everyone feels like that. I mean, how do you feel, Amanda, as having a business and got clients? How is your view on it?
Yeah, I think I agree. You need to stop people being scared of these things to be able to repair them. We go into schools and I take old IT equipment, of which I'll probably borrow some from Elaine because we've given them all to Elaine now, just to let young people get their hands on equipment and learn how to take it apart and put it together again, obviously with the caveat of they don't go home and do it to their parents' machines. But we do that to try and take away the scare, or a lot of people are terrified of equipment, but also to try and get more girls into the IT industry as well, to see that anybody can take things apart. It's not a boys thing to take things apart and try and fix them. So get them young, get them interested in it, and then by the time that generation comes up, they'll be used to reusing and repairing things. So yeah, really important.
Yeah, I totally agree. I've got a boy and a girl, and there's no boy-girl division. It's, you can both do the same.
No, they love it. They love it. They both sexes absolutely love it. And actually the girls are sometimes they're a lot more particular about where all the components came from, whereas the boys are just pull all the bits out, and then they're like, oh, where did they all come from? So it's quite interesting to watch them, but it's fun. They love it. They have a great time.
That's great. So there's quite 2 or 3 more questions. I'm just going to kind of swiftly move on. A really interesting question from Vivian at Edinburgh. I'm really interested in the trend towards not owning subscription type services and wonder how we can get this message out. Also keep the cost for rental, lease, borrowing affordable for low income households. Totally agree, Vivian. I think it needs to be a much more more known what subscription type services available. And we were just talking before we started about a rental service for baby wear. Anybody who's had a baby in the first 5 years, they might have clothes they grow out of, and a lot of it's brand new. What do you do with it? But it needs to be more widespread. So subscription of, for example, when you've got a circular office, can you lease lighting? You don't have to buy it. Can you lease your furniture? But that needs to be more mainstream. So I'm just going to maybe go to the panel, but the thought, especially to do with affordability, because I think you're right, it has to be affordable. If it's not affordable, then people will just buy new. So I might go to Claire first, we'll go around again. That's probably the easiest way. That's okay.
Claire, on that actually, because one of the things that we've noticed, so that came up a lot when we asked those companies why they weren't embracing reuse. And a lot of times they felt like they weren't, for example, with your lighting example, if they were a lighting manufacturer, they weren't really set up to transition into being a lighting as a service company because they didn't have the digital infrastructure there, and the physical infrastructure felt like it was, you know, it wasn't necessarily going to be cost effective. So that's one of the things that we do, is we work with people to demonstrate that actually once you start tracking it, you can make all these optimizations, you can start making it more predictable, you can actually iron out a lot of those challenges. And then the second thing is, from a, like, how do you get more consumers interested in this? I think the challenge has also been having a lack of information about those consumers. And so gathering information on how people engage with the system is going to give us more data to be able to make smart decisions and grow those customer bases quicker.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think it's about, and also I think it's about education. We're trying to slowly but surely just highlight the options, but it kind of has to be also customer led. So a customer needs to want it for then the innovation to be, because there's so much innovation circular economy, even during COVID, the amount of projects that we've supported is, you know, it's quite incredible. Because then you think COVID, you know, when COVID hit, we were like, well, how busy will we be? And we're actually busier than we've ever been. And Laura and I will test to that, and got a lot of projects on the go. But I think it also needs to be that customer wanting those services and saying, actually, and that's then will come to it. What are your thoughts, Elaine, about that?
Back to second hand is not second best, so it's maybe not leasing, but it's about second hand. And I think that for instance, companies think, oh, we must always press the buy new button, but Amanda testified that some of her companies maybe can't afford that, but actually, you know, if they bought in refurbished IT, still does the job, but it's lower cost for them. And equally for people, consumers out there, just buying the latest shiny, most up-to-date version of a piece of IT equipment might not actually be necessary for them. You know, a good quality, high-spec, refurbished piece of kit is just as good. So it's re-educating yourself that it's not a horrible thing or a stigma thing to buy second-hand. It's actually really cool and the smart thing to do. So
I think it's also that affordability is what Vivian is asking. You help a lot of low-income families, you know, that don't have necessarily IT equipment. I know that when COVID hit, and how do you teach your kids, and how do you have enough IT equipment for everybody to use when you used to have one laptop or iPad to having four? And I think that's what it's not, because a lot of people think that reuse or secondhand could be more expensive. Actually, a lot of times it's not. You don't need to have the highest spec. You just need to sort of think out of the box. So I hope that answers your question. I mean, Amanda, do you want to comment on that? I know that Elaine has kind of talked about your clients, but do you have any thoughts on that question?
Yeah, to be honest, mainly what Elaine has just said, but you know, in the IT industry, everything's going to subscription model anyway, monthly subscription. So any way that customers can reduce their capital costs and just have a really monthly cost, they prefer that anyway. So the industry's going that way, and hopefully you know, more innovations come up in that sphere for them.
That's great. Thanks, Amanda. Next question is from Alex. I think, Alex, have you got a question for Elaine? Do you want to ask yourself, Alex?
Good morning, everyone. Elaine, we're a Scotland-wide IT and telecom provider, and as you can imagine, same as Amanda, we have considerable amounts of equipment that come back from customers. IT obviously falls into networking, desktop devices, mobile devices, servers. You know, it's a broad spectrum, including all the telephony types of equipment as well. Is there particular product sets that you really, you know, fit within, and also, you know, your services? That's something that we could use Scotland-wide. For example, we work with a number of schools, and one school alone is looking at a desktop replacement of 100 devices over the summer. And a couple of the other schools have got networking replacements, server end. You know, there's a lot going on, predominantly over the summer period and at the Christmas period. So worth maybe reaching out to us on that. But if you could give us an idea of the type of equipment that you're looking for, that would be handy.
My excitement. Again, power of circular, Edinburgh in action. We take everything because we can take it broken as well, because that's the whole thing. It's about even the broken kit is useful to us because we take out the parts and we use that for training and things. So yeah, we take laptops, cables, monitors, PC, desktops, you name it, we'll take it. So yes, please let's connect afterwards. Thank you.
Yeah, I hope that helps, Elaine. I can just see when you said about the schools and the amount of IT equipment. Wow, I mean, it's that. Then this is what it's all about. It's one of my points I said earlier about collaboration. We make a lot of introductions because you just need to meet the right person, and then have a coffee like Elaine and Amanda did, and then that starts a relationship onwards. And rather than, as I said, having to pay that tax of putting it landfill, you might as well just second life, and then that goes to a family that really is in need. So I hope that helps, Alex. But as I said, we will share Elaine and all the panel's contact details so you can connect offline and take that discussion forward. And please, if that comes out anything, please get in touch and we'll showcase it as a case study, because for us it's about that collaboration and showcasing circular economy within Edinburgh and Scotland wide. So please get in touch if that does come to a collaboration. That'd be much appreciated. Right, next question is from Johnny Kinross. So many consumers still want things cheaper. How can we collectively encourage people, our customers, to spend more on purchasing more ethical products that contribute to the circular economy? For example, can we sell Remakery products in John Lewis? Lessons can be learned from Patagonia clothing and as they're selling secondhand goods. I think I'll probably just go to Claire on that one, because you were talking about some of the big brands earlier on. So maybe over to you first, Claire.
Sure, and I'd love to get Elaine's thoughts on whether or not she'll be hitting up John Lewis anytime soon.
No, she will.
So I completely agree, and I'm so sorry, my puppy just knocked something.
Okay, don't worry. We all have kids, puppies, delivery men. Carry on.
So yes, I think in general things need to either be so much better, easier, or cheaper for people to adopt them en masse. And I think that's what's so exciting about remanufactured and refurbished goods, or reused or resold things. So and I think that was why I wanted to highlight the purchase of Depop, which is, I don't know how many people know it, but it's an app that lets you sell your clothes. And we've seen that it's been a huge success for young people in particular, because they're able to buy more high quality clothes, but for much cheaper. So I think that that's absolutely, and more companies, because of its success, are taking up notice. And I think we're going to see that happen as well for electronics.
Yeah. It's okay, don't worry about that, Claire. I think I'll go over to Elaine, just talking about the John Lewis. How do you feel about having your products on the John Lewis shelf?
I'm all right about that. Yes, that would be great. Wouldn't it be great for third sector itself? Because there's lots of third sector organisations who do amazing things, or SMEs. And wouldn't it be great if the power of collaboration, we could get bits, a section of the big hitters, the big retail, where they give that over to the work that's maybe been done that's really innovative and really great and has that social value. That would be a great section in a lot of retail outlets, Marks and Spencer's and John Lewis. And yeah, so you've heard it here first when that happens.
It's a great idea, Johnny. I don't know if you want to come in, Johnny, from the Grants Market Project. They do start doing circular economy, so they've produced furniture from old church pews, wooden pews, because they've got a lot of woodwork technicians. I don't know if, Johnny, you want to come in, but I think as again another social enterprise that are doing some great work on circular economy. I don't know if you want to have a quick minute or two to say, or am I just putting you in the spot, Johnny?
I wasn't prepared for that, but no. Hi everyone. Yeah, exactly. We would love to see, as Elaine said there, third sector or SMEs selling their products that have got in and around the circular economy, upcycled products, secondhand goods within the big retailers. And I think stores like Asda, which have now broken into that market, and Patagonia, which were there first, it shows you that there's a market for it. They wouldn't be doing it. These big players would not be doing it if there wasn't a market. They're making a markup on secondhand and upcycled goods. And I think it could be fantastic if some of the top retailers in Edinburgh, especially with our brand new St James Centre and stuff coming online shortly, if some of these top stores were leading the way. It's a brilliant opportunity, because that's where people are shopping still, if they are shopping in person and online. So it's a great opportunity, not just for the third sector, for SMEs and the circular economy more generally.
There's also such a positive feedback loop there as well, because the more that clothes are resold and a company sees them come through again, the more understanding they have about how to create clothes or electronics that can be reused or remanufactured. So I think these are the kinds of positive reinforcement cycles that we need to see, and that I think will drive pretty phenomenal change in the next few years.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. Patagonia was the leading one that's been doing that for what, 5-10 years, Johnny? They've been doing it quite a while. My husband's, that's his favourite brand. But I think with St James, it gives an opportunity. I had a at the chamber tour before it actually officially opened, and one of the brands is Body Shop, and they're having the bottles, so you can actually buy a Body Shop metal bottle. They fill out whatever you want, in, you know, shampoo, whatever, creams. They're not all the product range, but there's a few, and then you go back in the store and they'll refill it for you, and that you don't have to use that plastic. Now, okay, that's just a small thing, and but Body Shop again has been one of those big brands, and I think when the customers demand it, but then the big brands then fulfill it because they have to fulfill it. You know, my slight thing is about that greenwashing. Oh yeah, we've got one pair of trainers made out of 5 plastic bottles, and that's kind of it. But there is a lot of other, I know that you talked about that new app. There's one called Thrift Plus, which is, again, I mean, this is showing my age and maybe other people here as well, as when I was, you know, in my teens and early 20s, we had shops that it was the coolness to buy the old Levi's and the Levi jackets and go to secondhand stores and try and get old Chanel. That was the cool thing, and I think that's coming back. I think we had 10-15 years of let's buy everything new and go to Primark or get something from Sainsbury's, and you think, but it's only £8, how can that be a good product and actually being fair to its workers? I think we are, excuse the pun, going back completely circular to the was my parents' generation, but even when I was in my early teens. So, I mean, I've got another couple of questions. Let me have a look. One from Anne-Marie Shilito. Sorry if I got your name right. This is to Amanda. I totally agree with all that you had to say from your early comments. I'm in my 70s and will pay my IT myself where this is possible. My issue is the deposit on the loan scheme we have to pay regarding specialist equipment for digital designing. How can I deal with this, as many of my customers don't have the savings to put down a deposit? Maybe over to you, Amanda. That was actually for you. If you can maybe answer that question, if you can.
I'm not really sure what it's about. Deposit on the loan scheme.
Let me
digital designing. I'm not a digital designing expert, so.
Yeah, none of mine. So maybe Anne-Marie, can you maybe expand exactly related to your question, what were you referring to, just so we can see, maybe, because that's quite a technical question. So Anne-Marie, can I bring you in if I can, if you're still here?
Okay. Yeah, so my company develops a 3D modeling package which uses a haptic device. So for people to use our system, and it's usually people in the applied arts, designer makers, who would use it because it was designed for them, they need to actually have a haptic device to be able to use our software. It's just one of the barriers to using our system. So I've been purchasing quantity of these haptic devices for our loan scheme. And one of the barriers for the people in the applied arts is actually putting down a deposit. I feel a bit insecure if I just loan out without having that security. But this is a big barrier. I am looking at being able to collaborate with, say, another organization, say one that is about applied arts, to see if they will, collaborate with me so that their members can borrow our system without putting down a deposit. But, for anybody else who's outside, I don't know how to deal with it other than, to ask for a deposit that would cover the second-hand price of my equipment.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe I can answer that one, because I think that's quite a technical question. I think if it's deposits, you need to cover yourself as any business. I think you don't want to have the liability if it's a deposit. And if a company, if you offer a service and you have to have a deposit and you have to charge for that, and unfortunately people can't pay that, then maybe, there needs to be a discussion about a payment scheme, or if they can apply for some kind of funding.
Or a lease, maybe.
Exactly, or leasing. I think maybe Amanda will know, but that's kind of more of a funding issue. So I don't know, Amanda, if you want to maybe come in, if you can help.
Well, yeah, we are forever finding funding opportunities for all of our clients. I say we've got a lot of charities, so there may well be something out there that you maybe haven't come across yet. So there might be something that some kind of grant or leasing or something out there that's available to help. Just be a case of trying to find out where you could get that information. I'm sure the Chamber probably have specialists in that kind of area for funding, that kind of thing.
So if I put my email into the chat, if anybody can help please
Absolutely.
contact me. That would be brilliant.
Of course.
Thank you very much indeed.
Shamanda's email address anyway, so you can talk off online. Regarding funding generally, every 3 months, Lauren and I do a lot of research on funding opportunities, because as you know, for having circular economy business, a lot of MSMEs, you need funding. So just to talk about funding, there is Elaine mentioned about green jobs. There's a recent green job big fund from the Scottish Government, and that's, you can apply, it's backdated, so you can't do it for dating, but you can apply for funding of your team costs between 10 and 50%, but it can't be just a green job. It has to have like a project. So, for example, Edinburgh Remakery, this is the service that they offer, etc. All the different, but you know, it's quite a big fund. You of course have to go to an application process, and I think the deadline is fast looming. But please have a look. We will also have we have an article with all the different funding that generally we'll update every 3 months. So if there's any other funding generally to do with circular economy sustainability, please get in touch with us. We're happy to forward on to you. I mean, we're actually ahead of time, but there's just a couple more questions if everybody's okay just to hang on, because we're actually half an hour early, but if I can give you another 25 minutes back for your day, I'm sure everybody would be happy to have that back. But there's one, just more statements. I might bring in Scott from SegPack, because he does a lot of packaging. Amazon recently introduced option of compiling all your orders into one order and one box about excess packaging. Scott, can I bring you in, just because I know that's what you do with a lot of your clients regarding packaging, how you're sustainable and reusable packaging, especially linking to what Claire was saying earlier on. So how are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think on the packaging side, obviously we're hitting a critical point. So the combination of exiting Eurozone, there are issues getting corrugate across the UK. That combined with COVID and a huge uptake in e-com demand has led to obviously shortages, but shortages which are also further emphasised by a lack of planning as well. We see a lot with the breweries where multiple different products, maybe 2 or 3 different box sizes, and then a huge amount of void fill. So I think from our perspective, it's about how we can reduce consumption, how we can reduce sort of excess and void fill, and look at alternative routes to take.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think packaging is it could be another whole session just about packaging. I mean, as I said, I think that's the kind of the questions on the chat done. I mean, as I said, we're very ahead, but I'll give you 25 minutes for saving for your day. I'll do that. So Elaine, over to you. Do you want to have a quick, before I was going to go over to the panel, so I'll go to you first, Elaine.
I just wanted to highlight, because I just saw Scott there, I hadn't seen him in the sort of picture. Again, the power of the Chamber and Circular Edinburgh. Scott and the Edinburgh Remakery, we're working together for a really innovative, again, it's about the opportunities that circular economy bring. So we're working on a really innovative, bespoke designed IT storage donation box that's going to be winging, well, we're going to have quite a few of these winging their way around Edinburgh. So it's an opportunity for businesses who have staff who want to donate their IT, but again, don't want to trail all the way down to the Edinburgh Remakery, but also want to do that good for the community, so they can deposit their old IT equipment safely, securely. And Scott has designed a bespoke storage box that it's been amazing. We've got some funding to do that, and so we're going to be piloting that in the next couple of weeks. But again, that's the power of the circular economy in Edinburgh, that collaboration is absolutely crucial. So Scott's done all the work, and it's absolutely amazing piece of equipment.
It's been it's been a fun project as well, and I think initially with SegPack, people look at us and assume we're just packaging providers, but we'd much rather take on problems, issues, find solutions, and just look at bespoke ways of creating a different way of looking at things. It's the project that you refer to says some of them we hadn't directly been involved in that kind of thing previously, but we have the manufacturers, we have the contacts, and possibly underlying knowledge, which in many ways goes back to what Claire was saying a little bit earlier about the containers as well. And once the uniform outlook on containers, it enabled the shipping industry to become a damn sight more efficient. And it's a similar principle, I think. Everything can be modular, and it just takes people to look at it from a slightly different viewpoint, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think also it's about, for this specific product, it means that people who want to donate their IT equipment don't necessarily just have to go to the Remakery location. They can do it around the city. It just makes that circular economy piece much easier, and it's your whole part of the circular economy. And I think also what Claire and Scott probably worthwhile catching up, because I said it's that data and getting that data for the bigger brands, and because it's actually the SMEs are probably doing a lot of it as well as some of the brands. So I think what I'll just do before we close up, Claire, do you want any final thoughts, and then I'll pass on to Amanda before we close up?
No, just fantastic to hear about the Edinburgh Remakery spreading their access points, because I think access is going to be critical for making it convenient.
Yeah, Amanda, do you want any final thoughts before we close?
Just for Scott and Claire to sell their technologies to the big IT providers, please, so that when we get IT equipment that we buy, it doesn't come in a gazillion different boxes. That would be nice to see.
Yeah, I am totally agreeing. Please get reduced, and then the data. That would be great. If we take away from today, let's just get the big brands on board. So I'm just going to close up. There's just a few things just to say regarding the support that we offer. So Lauren's just going to do a quick overview, literally just a couple of minutes, and then I'm just going to have a quick overview about COP26 as I mentioned earlier, and then we'll close up. So if I can go over to you.
Yes, I'm just sharing. Can everyone see this?
Yeah.
Okay. So. Will this work? Yes. So thank you very much, everyone, for attending today. It's been great to kind of hear all about the collaboration that's happening. So Circular Edinburgh, as we've kind of highlighted, offers a range of support for businesses across the city. So we provide advice and support to help companies turn waste into wealth. So we help businesses look at waste streams to see if we can help reduce those waste streams, see if we can get you to collaborate with other businesses who can take those waste streams away and do some funky, cool things with that waste stream. We do also provide circular economy assessments. So this is where we sit down with you and we look at all areas of your business to see what opportunities you're not really tapping into at the moment for circular economy practices, and then help you kind of start implementing those over the next 6 months, year. We do support and advise on circular economy projects, so that's whether that be a startup business or actually more collaborative projects like Edinburgh Remakery with other organisations. And as you've seen this morning, we help businesses with networking and connections. So I spend a lot of time making introductions, and networking events such as our events are a great way for businesses to kind of connect with each other and get those opportunities growing. We do work with Zero Waste Scotland. They are our kind of funding provider, so they do have a number of services that they offer, and we can refer businesses onto those if you're interested. So if you are interested, please do get in touch. And as mine has highlighted already, information on funding opportunities. So I'm always looking for new ones to add to the list and update. So if you are interested in finding out more about Circular Edinburgh or the support that we offer, please do get in touch. And I have provided our contact details and ways that you can contact us, and I'll pop that in the follow-up email later on today.
Thanks, Lauren. If we just come out to screen share a second so see everybody. So just to say about COP26, I haven't put a slide up because it's just in the planning stages, but we are organising a lot of activity for the city. If anybody wants to get involved to help that transition to net zero, and I suppose for the legacy piece of COP26, what can be done for the city? There'll be a lot of events taking place from now until November, culminating in the first week of COP, a 3-day big event. And I'm very much pushing the fact that we will have a circular economy section and actually showcase some of the circularity amazing businesses that we've helped over the last few years. So please, we will be in touch further. Also, we are, I don't know if you know that the City of Edinburgh Council has recently launched the sustainability strategy in the next week to 10 days, and we are organising some consultation events. The invite will be going the next couple of days. The first one is about Pathway to Normal. The second one is about circular economy. Circular economy one, I believe, is on the 27th of July. So please just keep an eye on that for your diaries, just because the council is very keen to have some consultation and some feedback with businesses. And as I said, we're kind of ahead on time. We're now at 10:41, so I hope I've given you, as I saved a couple 20 minutes from your day. I just want to finish with Alex's last comment about why don't we try and do that sharing economy and that reuse, about Claire taking her puppy so we could all see the lovely puppy. Maybe once it's potty trained and house trained, but but actually what we have done before in the chamber, even though I think that was more of a joke, is we have done net walking and then pet walking, where you go for a walk and network with your pet. It was actually very popular. This is pre-COVID. We did it with 12 members. So happy to think about speaking to our events team, Alex, and doing that again. If everybody wants to bring their cats and dogs and all other animals. So I'll finish with that great quote from Alex. Thank you for our speakers, to Elaine, to Amanda, to Claire, for their time today. Thank you for coming today and being part of our session and that great discussion. And please stay in touch. Any support we can help, we will do so. And as I said, Lauren will be in touch to follow up with the presentations and the contact details for our speakers. And have a lovely day.